Hello King Fit friends and family, this is Andrew, and today we're going to learn a little bit about infighting on a heavy bag. Okay, so usually when people are hitting heavy bags, they don't think about their distance and various punches that you can use at different distances, right? So here's a nice long distance I have with long punches. I'm far away. Medium distance, you got some good hooks, uppercuts, overhands, all kind of fun stuff. And then you can get inside and really do some fun work. And a lot of people don't do this on a bag. Okay, so if you have the ability to use a heavy bag when you're working out, this will be great for you. So sometimes, if you're a shorter fighter, maybe you want to get inside of the taller fighter's arm range, you can get inside, right? And when you're inside, if this is my opponent, I can do a lot here. I can do a lot from this position. Now, I'm not going to have a lot of effect if I'm not using my hips to get around. So if I'm just using my arms, I'm not going to get a lot of leverage. But if I can start with my hips, you can't see my hips too well right here, but right here, if I pivot that foot, start with my hips, pow! All I have to do is raise my hand, do this, and I've already got a lot of torque. Oh. Now, if I were to unpivot and keep everything locked upstairs, where I started, it's as if my hand really went this far, right? When I was actually right here. Unpivot, it's as if I went that far. So by really using those hips, you can get a lot of torque and a lot of power with those closer punches. And you see heavyweights do that really well, right? They're right on top of each other. It's a little punch like, how did that person get knocked out? Because they're able to use their body weight to their hips and their pivoting of their feet and their hips to really bring that around, okay? So when you're hitting the bag, think about that. You can be close. I don't have to go back here to punch, because if I go back here, I'm opening myself up, right? If I start here, pivot those hips, right? I'm putting out that cigarette with my foot. I pivot those hips, so now my hips are pretty much facing my opponent, and my arm goes last. Pow! I made some good contact. When I lock, I pivot, keep that locked. It's as if I went that far, right? So think about it. Right? Even going overhand. My hand isn't going down. I'm bringing my head over to the side so I don't get punched. So if you want to watch that again, maybe from this angle, I'll give a mirror. Okay, here we go. So here, straight ahead, or I can kind of bring it forward and down as my body works, right? So if I'm coming at you, right? I'm not doing this because I'm vulnerable, and letting the person know I'm punching. I'm starting here, pivoting those hips, bringing my head over as my hand is pretty much just doing this. That's all my arm is doing. It's not even really moving. My body's doing all the movement. Pow. And by moving my body, I get that power and that torque into it. So think about that as kind of rule one, right? Get those hips involved. Pivot those hips, pivot those feet when you're doing some infighting, and you get a lot more power. Another great tool that you can use, which my coach, Izzy, taught me, Izzy from Izzy Does It Fitness here in Chicago. He's a great infighter. One thing he taught me that I use all the time is if I have a shoulder up against my opponent, I just give him a little bit of a flick, just a little bit, and if you notice, that puts a little bit of space in between me and my opponent. Probably you're not going to get as much space as that bag just showed because they're maybe also leaning against you. But here I don't have a lot of room to work. But if I give that little space with that little flick, then I have a nice opportunity to punch, right? Or it could be a nice little uppercut, right? Just a little bit. Flick punch, and then of course do a defensive move afterwards. Okay? So that's another awesome thing that you can add to your infighting, and you can use it on a bag, right? Lean against this. It's not going to be the exact weight that your opponent is. You can start getting used to that timing, right? Another cool tip to use that Izzy also taught me is if they're leaning against you, you can just shift out of the way, right? So my feet do a little skip, then I'm out of the way, and my opponent falls in to my left hand, right? So if my opponent's leaning against me, I just shift those feet and bring them right into my punch. Okay, so how that might look right now, if I've already used this a couple times and the person knows I might do a little flick, I might pretend to do a flick and they'll push against me, and then as they go by me, they go right into that hand, right? So if they're here, shift. Another view, show you over here. If they're kind of leaning against me, putting their weight in me, I'm just going to shift my feet out of the way and let them fall right into my punch. Okay? So it's either a flick or you let them go right into that uppercut or that hook. You'll notice that you have to punch pretty quick after that first movement because you're usually not boxing somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. So if you're going against a brand new person, you might be able to do that little flick and then punch, or move and then punch. But I would suggest getting used to it pretty quickly. So to recap, anytime we're really close to our opponent, we want to use those hips to really get the torque going and get that power. Again, if I unpivot but keep my hand where it was, it's as if my hand did that much movement, right? When I was actually right here. So you can get a lot of power. Same here. When I do an uppercut, I'm not going down here. If anything, I might bring my head down a little bit, either here or the Philly shell. I like to do the Philly shell when I'm inside because you can pin somebody's arms against your body. Either way. So here, if I do it up here, I might pivot a little bit, but my hand isn't going down here to do an uppercut. I'm pivoting the hips, and all my hand is doing is going that far, and I'm getting a lot more torque and a lot more power. So when you hit the bag, think about that. When you're doing your up close fighting, use those hips, right? Even a close two. I'm this close with my two punch, hips, pop. And I get a lot of power going before I make that contact, right? So my hands are starting here. If I want to do a hook, right? All in the hips. My hand is just moving here to here or here to here. Okay? It's going to keep your guard up better. It's going to help you get more power when you use those hips. And of course, we got the flick, uppercut, flick, hook, flick, nice short two, right? I might flick. I might meet your face right there when I'm throwing this too. But I'm going to keep pushing through, kind of like you're taught to, punch through your opponent. So I might meet you here, but I'm going to keep going the whole way. And then, of course, we got the one where you're going to get out of the way. If they're leaning against that shoulder, just get out of the way, and they just run right into your punch. Okay, a couple of cool infighting tips for you to work on. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave some of your favorite infighting fights in the comments. I personally love watching Roberto Duran. I have a cool Roberto Duran hat I didn't wear today, but he's an amazing infighter using kind of some wrestling tactics as well. Really doing some cool stuff. We're going to do a lot more on infighting in the future, so please check back and let me know if you have any questions or suggestions or boxing bouts that we should watch that have some good infighting. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.